What's up, Jets fans? Welcome to the latest edition of Jets Latest, where you get the latest on the Jets, Jets. I'm your host, the spitting statistician, Dane Martinez, and today I want to talk about how the NFL had their kind of competition committee, their rules meetings earlier in the week, and there are a lot of highlights from that, some that get the top of the billboard, and others that are underlying where I really believe the Jets can take advantage of it, okay? The first thing we want to talk about, which was all the headlines, was the idea of the tush push. As you know, Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles run the tush push a ton. That's why they think 1st and 10 is really 1st and 9 because it's almost deemed as an unstoppable play. So much so that the NFL was actually talking about banning this play. That's what they were voting on. But in fact, the tush push is staying, okay? By a vote of 22 to 10. So actually 22 teams decided that they wanted to ban the tush push, but that wasn't enough. You needed 24 teams in order to ban the tush push, and the Jets were one of the 10 teams that actually voted to keep the tush push, and I think that is really, really important because I believe Justin Fields and the Jets can benefit from the tush push. Remember, yesterday on Jets Latest, I talked about Justin Fields, his running potential, how he ran for 5 touchdowns and 6 starts for the Steelers last year, how his rushing ability was on par with guys like Lamar Jackson and Michael Vick. Well, if you dig into it, part of the reason the tush push stayed was because people were like, oh, only 2 teams really do it, the Eagles and the Buffalo Bills. Well, check this out. Justin Fields, okay, he had the 5 rushing touchdowns and 6 starts. If you pace that out, that would be 14 rushing TDs. That would be on par with Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, who had 14 and 12 rushing touchdowns last year, respectively. But look specifically at the tush push. Since Justin Fields has been in the league, they have tried, whatever team he's on, has tried the tush push with Justin Fields 12 times, and it's been successful 11 times. That is a 92% clip of success rate for the tush push, right? That's actually the 3rd most behind just Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen. Look, Jalen Hurts obviously done it a ton. 86 for 100 over the last couple of years. Well, Justin Fields is actually, albeit in a smaller sample size, has done it with even more success. And then there's Josh Allen, who's been successful with it 50 of 55 times for a rate of 91% for the Buffalo Bills. So ironically, I am glad that the tush push is legal because I would not be surprised if that is a part of the Jets offense with Justin Fields, right? Maybe they're not calling it the tush push. Maybe it's the force Fields or something like that. But I do believe this could be another added element. Fields has experience with that play. And when we talk about the dual threat nature of Justin Fields, it's not only read options, it may be them using the tush push, maybe not as much as the Eagles or Bills, but as a real part of the offense. So I think it is important that this play actually is legal. But let me tell you something else. There was another rule change that actually did happen in the league meetings this week where I think the Jets were very shrewd to get ahead of this with one of their free agent signings, okay? And the rule change is that this year, touchbacks are going to come out to the 35-yard line instead of just the 30-yard line, which it was. Remember how they wanted to kind of make this a safer play? They changed the rules around the kickoff. There was that landing area. So now what a lot of teams are doing, we're just banging it into the end zone for a touchback, trying to remove the kickoff and the danger of the kickoff return, not only physically, but the danger of having a big return and good field position. They wanted to kind of remove that. People were just banging kickoffs, right? So to kind of de-incentivize that, the league changed the rule and has now touchbacks coming out to the 35-yard line instead of the 30-yard line. And if you remember, early in free agency, we signed Keeney Nguanu to a 1-year, $2.5 million deal, okay? It was really under the radar, but he was a beast of a returner. If you remember, he had the 99-yard kickoff return against Seattle last year. He was the AFC Special Teams Player of the Week that week, and then he got hurt. Was injured for the rest of the season, okay? So he really only splashed in one game, and in that game, man, he returned the kickoff for a touchdown. But he's had a good career doing this. He was a former all-pro kick returner as the best kick returner in the league. He's only 27 years old, so on brand for Darren Muji, Aaron Glenn, right? Guys who have flash, still in their 20s. And he has 4 return touchdowns in 4 seasons. His 28.7 yards per kick return all time is fourth best in NFL history. And like I said, the rate of kickoff returns that have actually been happening went up last year from 21.8% to 32.8% last year. And with this rule change, I believe it's going to go up even more. So the idea that the Jets prioritized getting a top level kick returner. And now, because of this rule change, I believe the kickoff return is going to be a more important play and a more important player, because if they want to, kick a touchback, fine. We start at the 35-yard line. If not, go ahead and kick it to our guy who's one of the best returners in the league. I think this was a very shrewd move by Muji and Glenn for only $2.5 million. So I did want to highlight that, because not only the tush push as kind of something the competition committee and the rules committee decided to do that I think could benefit the Jets. I think there's going to be more kick returns, and we've got a guy that means that is a benefit for us. Speaking of more, I want to talk a little bit more about Malachi Moore, our draft pick in the 4th round from Alabama. Listen, there's the potential for this draft class, right? For Muji and Glenn. I've been saying how it's a culture building, right? It's a vision setting. It's a brand setting for the new green and white here, this new regime. I think back to some other drafts we've had, all the way back in 2000, where we got Sean Ellis and Abraham and Chad Pennington and Anthony Becht up top. And what that did as they grew together, we had a stretch of playoff seasons, right? I'm thinking about the talent we've had with the influx of Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Jermaine Johnson, Breece Hall, right? Well, I really believe that this 2025 draft, we know about Membu. We know about Mason Taylor. We've talked a lot here on Jets Latest about A.Z. Thomas and Arian Smith. I think the other guy is Malachi Moore. And I think Malachi Moore has the potential to very soon be a key cog for this Jets defense under Aaron Glenn. There's a few reasons why, and it goes back to what he did at Alabama, where he played the quote-unquote star position, okay? Yeah, at the star role, what that means in Alabama is it's really a blend of kind of being a nickel corner, also a little bit of linebacker, also a little bit of safety. Malachi Moore is turning heads at, minicamp, at rookie minicamp, things of that nature, and he fits, again, the characteristics we've been talking about to be a Jet, right? 2-time captain at Alabama, 2nd-team All-American, was all-conference. But look at the variety of stuff he did. Led the team with 8 pass breakups, had picks, had tackles for loss and sacks, had a coverage grade of over 91 for PFF, and over an 81 for a run defense grade. He's known as having great ball skills, great instincts, right? And the reason I mentioned this star role is because in order to be the star role, you need a ton of football IQ. You need a ton of versatility. You need to be able to do run support and coverage, right? And that's the versatility I have been talking about here with the Jets. What Steve Wilks, what Aaron Glenn wants his guys to be able to do, to be intelligent, to be, kind of aggressive. And Malachi Moore has all of that. He's been showing up and showing out so far in camp. And here's the other thing. I remember at Detroit, Aaron Glenn had Brian Branch, who also played the star role at Alabama. He talked to Brian Branch about Malachi Moore, who raved about Moore here, right? And so I think that connection, that he knew what he was getting, they targeted Malachi Moore, and I believe he is going to be another one of these picks in the 2025 draft that's really an important Jet for a few years to come. Not only Brian Branch, but another guy who played the star role at Alabama and then went on to great success in the NFL. How about Minkah Fitzpatrick, a Pro Bowl, all-pro kind of corner? So that kind of lineage of playing this position in Alabama, I think translates very, very well to the NFL level. And, Aaron Glenn got the scoop talking to his boy from Detroit, Brian Branch. So I think that is important as well. That'll do it for another edition here of Jets Latest. Remember, the NFL Rules Committee, I think, helped the Jets by incentivizing the kickoff return when we signed a all-pro kickoff returner, in remaining with the tush push being a legal play, because Justin Fields, this side of Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, does it more and does it more successful. This could be an element of the Jets offense moving forward. And I really do believe Malachi Moore is going to be an important piece of this draft class, where we keep talking about Membu, guys like Arian Smith, A.Z. Thomas, and Taylor. I think Malachi Moore is going to be at least the 5th key contributor for the green and white over the course of the next few years, and the kind of pedigree, the experience, and the on-brand characteristics of the versatility and intelligence, the football intelligence that was required is really, really important. Please like these videos, subscribe to the channel, and tell a Jets fan friend to tell a Jets fan friend. We're wrapping up this week, but next week we will continue to talk more about what we saw in minicamp. I love the fact that guys are all coming together. It seems like people are buying into the culture, and you need to buy into Jets latest as well. But if you want to hear more from me, the spitting statistician Dane Martinez, remember, I am the host of the FTN Fantasy Show. Over on SiriusXM, channel 87, we do more than just talk the Jets. We talk fantasy football, fantasy baseball, NBA, NHL playoffs. It doesn't matter. FTN is a great website with a lot of data, tools to give you the edge if you want to be a sports bettor or a fantasy player. So go ahead and check me out over there. But we will be back next week talking more about the green and white. It is an exciting time. Tell a friend to tell a friend about Jets Latest, where you get the latest on the Jets, 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 Jets. We'll see you next week. We out of here. Have a great weekend, everybody.